Hello, Miss Hovey's class. It's me, Peyton, again, and I'm back to be your guest reader. The book I chose for us to read today is called Dog Breath: The Horrible Trouble with Hally Tosis by Dav Pickley. And I think that this book is going to be really fun read and something we can all relate to. One thing I wanted to point out before we start is the dog's name is Hally Tosis. Does anyone know what that means? Well, I recently found out that halitosis is another word for bad breath. So that's just a fancy word. So when you guys forget to brush your teeth in the morning and you show up to school with bad breath and someone says you have halitosis, then you know that they're talking about your bad breath. And that is sadly what this dog has. So I'll begin. There once was a dog named Hally who lived with the Tosis family. Hally Tosis was a very good dog, but she had a big problem. Hally Tosis had horrible breath. Whenever Hally Tosis opened her mouth, horrible things happened. Poor dog. When the children took halitosis for a walk, everyone else walked. On the other side of the street, even skunks avoided halitosis. Skunks stink, and they even avoided him. But the real trouble started one day when Grandma Tosis stopped by for a cup of tea, and Hally jumped up to say hello. Mr. and Miss Tosis were not amused. Something has to be done about this smelly dog, they said. Oh, what do you think they're gonna do? The next day, Mr. and Miss Tosis decided to find a new home for Hally. The children knew that the only way they could save their dog was to get rid of her bad breath, so they took Hally Tosis to the top of the mountain and had a breathtaking view. You think that'll take her bad breath away? We'll find out. They hoped that this breathtaking view would take Hally's breath away, but it didn't. Next, the children took Hally Tosis to a very exciting movie. They hoped that all the excitement would leave Hally breathless. But it didn't. Finally, the children took halitosis to a carnival. They hoped that Hally would lose her breath on the speedy roller coaster. Raise your hands if you think that will work. Well, we'll find out. Oh, there they are on the roller coaster. But that idea stunk too. The plans to change Hally's bad breath had failed. Now only a miracle could save halitosis. Sadly, the three friends said goodnight, unaware of the miracle that was just on the horizon.
Oh, my cabinet.
Later that night, when everyone was sound asleep, two sneaky burglars crept into the Tosis house. The two burglars were tiptoeing through the dark, quiet rooms when suddenly they came upon Hally Tosis. "Yikes!" whispered one burglar. "It's a big, mean, scary dog." "Ah, don't be silly," whispered the other burglar. "That's only a cute little fluffy puppy." The two burglars giggled at the sight of such a friendly little dog. "That dog couldn't hurt a fly," whispered one burglar. "Come here, Poochie Poochie," whispered the other. So Hally Tosis came over and gave the burglars a big kiss. Ugh, I would not want a kiss from Hally. The next morning, the Tosis family awoke to find two burglars passed out cold on their living room floor. It was a miracle! Look at them on the floor. Ugh, covered in bad breath. The Tosis family got a big reward for turning in the crooks, and soon Hally Tosis was the most famous crime-fighting dog in the country. In the end, Mr. and Miss Tosis changed their minds about finding a new home for Hally. They decided to keep their wonderful watchdog after all. Because life without Hally Tosis just wouldn't make any sense. So they ended up keeping Hally. Thank you guys for having me.